the madhouse.
Oh man, Grant's gonna get deep in this one.
Cheers to episode 48.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Mickey!
Little Mickey, after Thanksgiving, something low carb, low calorie.
Smart.
What about you?
I said whiskey.
Oh. Got a mix of some bottles of wine over there. Snoop Dogg was on one of them.
Bougie.
Alex is high.
Yeah, 6 edibles.
Nice.
I mean, he was acting really weird earlier. I wish
None of that is true, man. None of it.
super bizarre. Like the weirdest I've ever seen him act.
I'm not high.
No, I'm actually not.
Then he joked that he was, and I kind of thought he was after the way he was acting. But nevertheless, tonight is Monday, November 29th, 2021, Alex. 6:40 p.m. The iHome's already making fart noises, this show.
I need a new one.
And it happened. It finally happened.
Oh, God.
Years of pent-up aggression and depression and laughingstock embarrassment. It finally happened.
Michigan won the Super Bowl.
How was everyone's week?
My week was good. You want to start first, Alex? Who wants to start?
Well, Thanksgiving recap.
Oh, so yeah, short work week. That was nice. Thanksgiving. I went to my aunt and uncle's. So anyone who listened last week didn't go to my grandparents this year. Thanksgiving was a little different.
Is there any follow-up with that? Because I was thinking about it after we released it, and I was like, I actually feel guilty that I released that to the public.
People did ask me about it. I got text about it. Sorry your Thanksgiving's so bad, man. So people did reach out about that. But I went to my aunt and uncle's, did watch the Lions game.
Ooh, forgot that it happened, kind of.
Tough loss, whatever. Don't really care. Then, I hunted Thanksgiving morning with Evan.
Nice.
I did not hit the bar Wednesday, the annual Wednesday bar of the night, whatever you want to call it, because I went hunting. And then Friday, I went to the local watering hole. Grant, you were there.
Friday did go to that.
Yep. Drank a little more than I anticipated.
Got drunk.
Yeah. And then Saturday morning, I made the last minute decision to go to East Lansing, hang out with Evan, some other people. Went to the game, stayed for the whole game. Impressive, I'd say.
Redeemed yourself from Maryland.
Redeemed. Evan and I are deep water people. And then Sunday, I didn't do much of anything. But that was my week.
Nice.
Went to the bar on Saturday night.
Heavy drinking holiday.
There's always drinking on holidays.
Thanksgiving, went home pretty early in the week. Around like Tuesday, because I had a decent stretch of no work there. Enjoyed as much as I could. Got to see the dog. Huge dogs are just sometimes the best part of when you finally go home. So shout out the dog. Shout out to Nash. Went to my grandparents for a good chunk of Thanksgiving. The power went out, and I get no service in that area of town, so I was relying on the group chat to get me through the Lions game. And you couldn't even script it any better. Is the minute that my dad came in, he went into the car for like the 2-minute drive to see 2-minute drill to see who won the game. He walks in, Lions lost, power flips back on. It was almost like it was just out of a movie. You walk into grandma's house, power goes off. The game ends, power's back on. But it's probably good for the best that we didn't have any distractions, got to catch up with family. And then after Thursday, worked Friday through Sunday, no complaints. And like you said, we went to the bar Friday night, lost on pull tabs, very disappointing.
We won some money, $9.
Sure. Was not profitable on pull tabs. Stumped Alex in college football trivia, and he had to take 2 tequila shots.
Not actually true.
And then that was pretty much it. I also played some of the best pool of my life. And Alex lost us the game because we had a 4-ball lead on who we were playing. And it was one of the easiest 8 balls ever. And I just said, Alex, make sure you hit the bottom of the cue ball so you get a little backspin so we don't scratch and lose. He goes, I'm just going to hit as hard as I can. And I go, okay. And then he did it, and he did, and it scratched, and we lost.
I was cool with
Who
losing.
cares? Evan, you're weekly.
Got to go home Tuesday. Wednesday, went to the local watering hole. Big bar night, obviously, and saw a lot of people I haven't seen in a while. It was basically just high school reunion for every single class. It was a fun time.
Love that.
I went hunting. I went to the bar because I'm not soft, and then got up and went hunting because I'm not soft.
Correct.
Didn't see anything hunting. It was raining the entire time.
Still haven't seen anything.
Yep. Stayed awake, surprisingly, because it was raining.
It was pretty miserable out there.
It was miserable. Yeah, when Alex and I were walking back to the house, I just turned to him and I was like, well, that sucked. Thanksgiving was great. Saw family, ate well, watched football. Then turned around, came back up here for Friday. Tailgated, watched the Michigan Ohio State game, got to go to the game. It's actually very pleasing to watch because like in the stadium because of the snow game, fun experience with friends.
Snow games.
They do.
They're so awesome.
F word.
They're like, they're so
Cold
beautiful.
feet.
They're
Cold
like so beautiful.
It was nice. Then went to Sticky Rick Saturday night with the gang, and that was fun. Not that many people in there since it was Thanksgiving break, but it was still a good time. Shout out Jason for having too much fun.
You're welcome.
He was feeling it Saturday night when he got back.
No, but in a good way.
I mean, he was downing vodka crayons like they were juice, and I was supporting them because vodka crayons are still good. I taste tested it to make sure, they're still good.
Card revoking.
I mean, take my man card. You're drinking wine right now.
I was just a question. I'm not saying it.
No, if it tastes good and I enjoy drinking them, then I don't care. And then Sunday, I just felt like a lazy sack of potatoes. I just laid on the couch and watched the boring NFL games and took probably 4 different naps.
Are you still out on the NFL?
Yeah, I'm 100% out. No NFL games excite me. Like the Colts and Buccaneers game, that was exciting. But hand up, I fell asleep. I barely watched any of it. And then I wanted to watch Stafford beat Green Bay, but that didn't happen. So
I don't know if this is sacrilegious to say, but I don't really get jazzed for the NFL until the playoffs.
I also watch every single game, but it's just stinks.
I don't know. There's not that. I honestly rather watch Oklahoma State Bedlam or the Iron Bowl than rather watch an NFL game.
Wow.
Facts.
A lot of people. There's a lot of NFL snobs. Like, oh, I just can't watch the goofy college football plays. Like they're not grown men professionals. Like, yeah, but everyone cares 1,000 times more. Like you don't have bums like OBJ ruining teams.
Well, he scored.
After the first drive in the NFL, already half of the first quarter is already gone. What are we doing? After the first drive in college, you're like, okay, it's a minute and a half has been gone.
No game's ever over.
Yeah.
Honestly, the most exciting NFL product this year has been the Minnesota Vikings. So I feel like they're the only games worth watching because they're always in sweat fest. I was gonna say, yeah, I can relate to your nap deal because that's what I did Thanksgiving Day. I ate at 12:30 a full meal, stayed awake for the whole Lions game, and then fell asleep halfway through the Dallas game. Woke up to Luke Combs singing, ate another meal, took a nap, woke up at halftime of the Saints Bills game, ate another meal, and I was I didn't go to bed till 2 because I had already slept enough for the day. It messed my sleep schedule up for the rest of the week. It was bananas. So I need to. Usually you do recover on sleep on holidays like this. I need to recover on sleep and prepare myself. But we'll get into more probably details about your guys' fun outside of sports stuff when we talk about the Michigan State Penn State game. Before we get into that, though, the game of not the most exciting game of the college football season because there's been better finishes, but the greatest win in sports I've ever seen in my life since 2004, since when the Pistons brought home the championship against Kobe and the Lakers. There's no better win that rivals it.
If you're a Michigan
fan, if you're Grant, I mean, it was just, there's so many places to start. I'm going to try to do big picture stuff and a little bit X's and O's. I'm not going to get into the future because we got to focus on the present and what we saw. And I don't want to bore people to death because half of our audience doesn't really care, although they should, because, it's a shakeup in the college football landscape of the Big Ten of everything. This could change college football for years going forward. Who knows what's going to happen? But really, I always thought in my mind, and maybe you guys felt the same way too, I'm curious, is like I always thought when Michigan was going to eventually win this game, because even though it felt like sometimes it felt impossible, they were going to win it because, again, they're 18 to 20-year-old kids. They're gonna figure out how to beat a team. I thought it would feel fluky in a way. Like I thought Ohio State would have a couple turnovers. Maybe a big call would be made by the refs. Maybe there'd be a block punt or a punt return. I thought it'd be one where Michigan stole it from Ohio State and Ohio State's still the better team. But what happened on Saturday was on that day. Now, I'm not saying if they played in the future on a neutral site out of 10 times what would happen. I'm saying on that day, on that field, they bullied them, and it was clear to anyone that watched that Michigan was the better team in the football game on that day. And that was stunning. That made it even better because there was no room for debate. There was no, though this happened, so that's why, like, that was fluky. It was just like a total ass kicking of a team that I always forget how much I hate because I'm friends with you guys, because my great friends are Michigan State. I spend so much time thinking about the Michigan State rivalry that I forget, like, we have Wyatt in our chat, but Wyatt's not an aggressive Ohio State fan. I like Wyatt. He's like one of the few Ohio State fans.
You don't like us?
No, I like you guys. Okay, but what I'm saying is, like, I like almost every Michigan State fan I've ever met. I like their campus. I like hanging out at their bars. When Ohio State rolls around, I actually hate every single thing about that university and like their fans and those idiot faces and Ryan Day's dyed beard. And he looked like the Michelin Man out there on Saturday in his little two-tone jacket with those doofy gray sweatpants. And it's like, it felt so good to finally like humble him and to see him in distress on the sideline. But I don't want to get carried away with just hating on Ohio State because it should be more praise of Michigan. I think in my mind, the two guys that had incredible games were Hassan Haskins and Aiden Hutchinson. Obviously, I wrote down their names because they need to be said, is Zach Zinter, Andrew Vistardis, Andrew Stuber, Ryan Hayes, and Trevor Keegan. The offensive line, unbelievable. Looked like men against boys. I think when I knew, like, because I guess you never really know how great your offensive line is or anything in Michigan until you play Ohio State, because in years past they've gotten to this one loss and then just got embarrassed. But when the fight broke out in this third quarter, when they just got right in the cornerback's face, and it's like, okay, these are like grown men that you're just not going to mess with on this given day, is when it kind of set in. I'm rambling a lot. I would like to open up to you guys for any thoughts. If you go X's and O's wise of anything you saw from this game. I guess maybe you could go back to my statement. Like, did you guys feel that when Michigan finally got this done, it'd be kind of like a fluky performance as opposed to the domination it ended up being?
I honestly didn't think about it. Didn't think when Michigan wins, is it going to be because of this or this? I really didn't think about it. Probably because I'm not a diehard Michigan fan, so I didn't.
Did you think Michigan would win? Like, when did you think?
I didn't think they would win the game leading up to the game. No, I honestly thought when Michigan just went right down the field, bully ball, stadium rocking. I know you said it happened before, but it felt like the way Ohio State looked right out of the gate, the way Michigan looked right out of the gate. I thought, it definitely could happen. And then as the game went on, I just more so thought that they were going to win. They bullied them start to finish.
I guess I never would say I thought it would be fluky. I just thought it would be 2, 3, maybe more years before Michigan would finally win. I didn't think it would be this year, for many reasons, but until they actually started playing. And I was shocked that Michigan went right down the field and scored the first drive, and I think just Harbaugh outcoached Ryan Day for the full 4 quarters.
Yeah.
And the staff as a whole, because obviously we talked about this. Like, if you go back to our discussions from the preseason, I kind of was kicking myself after. Like, obviously, I don't really care because they won the game, but I told you guys at the start of the season, like, kind of jokingly, but seriously, if you're going to be an Ohio State team, this is as good a chance as any, just because they have a redshirt freshman quarterback who played in like 5 snaps the year before. Justin Fields is in the NFL. He's a great quarterback. And like they had a great recruiting class, but a lot of kids on their team were freshmen, and that's just like your best chance to beat them. And as I watched them play, like I can think about when college football was back and they played Minnesota. Evan was in that game against Ohio State in the first half, and then Ohio State loses to Oregon. Like I was like this, and then we were in Miami, and Ryan is sweating out their win against Tulsa. I'm like, this Ohio State team can be got, and they go on their stretch where they just dummy teams. And then what really tripped me up is watching them against Michigan State, and I'm like, oh, man, are they just gonna? Is this offensive force just gonna come into the big house and it's gonna be a nightmare? And it didn't. Like they looked so scared. Like the first snap of the game, they pulled a Jared Goff and snapped it off Stroud's chest. Still crazy to me that ball didn't land in a Michigan player's lap, but didn't end up mattering. It's like all the mistakes that Michigan would make in this game in past years, like 2016, fumbling on the goal line, throwing dumb pick sixes. Ohio State basically made those plays. And again, part of it has to be given to the crowd. The crowd there, shout out if you were in attendance, the Michigan fan, unbelievable. The loudest I've ever heard the big house on TV. Multiple people said they've been going since 2008, 2000s. It's the loudest it's ever been. Like start to finish, people were standing. So the old heads got on their feet for it. It's like 5 false starts. It's a mix of them being concerned about the edge rushers and also the crowd. Like Ohio State just did stupid things that were directly influenced by like the intimidating environment they walked into. And they just did not look like an Ohio State team in my time has looked really in this game.
Michigan also did exactly what we said, and they just ran the ball down their throats over and over and over. And it's like 3rd and 2 every time. And they'd convert 3rd down over and over and over again. I mean, they were 5 of 8 on 3rd down. They only had 8 3rd down.
They didn't have a 3rd down in the second half until they need the ball.
Ohio State had 18 3rd downs for comparison. It always felt like, too, Ohio State, when they were in 3rd down, it felt like it was 3rd and 15 every time. I don't know how it always got to that point. Probably Aiden Hutchinson and Ojabo getting to the quarterback, making plays, but it always just felt like Ohio State was in terrible positions on 3rd down. And Michigan, when they got to 3rd down, it was 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 4. And they would just keep converting.
Mm-hmm.
It was drastically different than any Michigan-Ohio State game I have seen, probably in my coherent life.
I think, and I want to get your thoughts, Evan. I was thinking that I was watching it. I watched it back for the second time. I'm going to say it's much more enjoyable watching it back when you know the outcome is going to be favorable for you. Because let's be honest here, so I'll walk you through it. I was watching this in my basement. My dad came down to watch it. He usually watches upstairs. Like we should probably watch it together, so one of us isn't screaming in case one's ahead of the other. I was also working, so I wasn't like I could basically see every snap, but at some points I was like I can't really just like lock into it. So, but I was getting texts from. I mean, I don't know if Alex was jinxing it when he was like ball game a million times.
Kept saying it because it was real.
Evan, you held off until you felt like it was really towards the end there. But even then, I was a little nervous. And then friend of the pod, Luke, texted me early. He's like, dude, I'm telling you, Michigan is going to win this game. They're dominating the line of scrimmage. Like he said it was going to be like 34-31, but this was like in the first quarter. I was like, dude, everyone needs to chill out. There's a miles left. And like, it was a game, obviously, at half, 14-13. And Michigan had, they get up 7-3, 7-3. Cade throws, 7-0. Then a devastating pick that haunted me for quarters. I couldn't let it go. I was like, dude, that would have been 14-0. And then they get the field goal. And then Michigan has two stalled drives. And Ohio State goes up 10-7. They answer. But like, it really was in the balance 100% at the half. And then if you think about the big plays of the game or the biggest moments, like that opening second half stop, that drive where they stopped them, Josh Ross makes a hell of a play on a 3rd down. Like that changed it because then as we know from like the summary, Michigan was 4 of 4 on their second half drives, and then the last one was just knees. But I had this feeling, and I want to know, Evan, what you think, because I know you love the X's and O's and the coaching staffs and the game plans, but like I almost felt like Ryan Day outthought himself and he started to get too pass happy because everyone says like their total rushing stats weren't good, but you have to take away the sack yards. There was 4 sacks, and a couple of them were CJ Stroud just running. Trevion Henderson was carving Michigan's defense for large chunks of that game, whether in the air or on the ground. And I felt like, especially in the second half, they got down a score and they abandoned it, and then it spiraled from there sometimes. Even in the first half, they didn't capitalize on the red zone because they got too pass happy.
That's how, I'm not saying it's a trend in play calling, but it always seems that way. As soon as like a quality team, quality matchup, big game, team gets down, they abandon the run. I don't know if it's X's and O's. I don't know if the coaches feel like they have to get it all back right now, or if it's matchup situations. But I feel like it should have never abandoned the run because he averaged 4.4 yards per carry.
Yeah, Henderson was having a great game.
And some of them, and I like the play calling, and then you see like a loss of a run here and there. But it was like the stretch plays where they're trying to run sideline to sideline. And it might be the old thinking in my head where like get north and south, but I feel like that was working better for Ohio State against Michigan was like the north and south zone replays, not the stretch plays to the sideline. They clearly weren't beating Michigan to the sideline based off of like their tackles not being able to set the edge. Like Michigan was setting the edge and they were not being able to do it, and they kept on going back to like the stretch zone reads. And then obviously like Smith, Ajigba, and Wilson had really good stats. They averaged like over 11, close to 12 yards per catch. So that might help going into why we're throwing the ball so much. But I mean, the more that you pass, the more the defensive linemen can just pin their ears back and go after the quarterback. They don't have to worry about gap integrity. They don't have to worry about, okay, is there a pulling guard coming my way? If they know they're going to pass more than 50% of the play, more than 50% of the plays, which is, I get it why they have to throw the ball more, but it's just stupid in my eyes.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It felt like they overthought it. Their passing game did work. I mean, we saw it. They're good for a reason. Wilson and Najigba and Olave all made really tough catches in that game, like NFL level Sunday catches that kept them in the game and kept it close. But it just felt, and especially like they had shown graphics of how Ohio State dominated this rivalry in the past, and it's because they've won the trenches and they've dominated the run game. And especially their offensive line wasn't doing that bad run blocking, but I think it would have been much tighter and would have gone back and forth if they had committed to the run more, I would say. But obviously no complaints on my end. To me, like big picture, this was like, it really is. It's like, it's a program changing win for Michigan. And I was thinking just how crazy college football is in sports in general, like the narratives and the pressure. Because if Michigan loses this game, it's like, okay, people are again calling for Harbaugh's head and like he can never get it done. And they win one game, 1 of 5, and it's like people love him again. And obviously the answer is somewhere in the middle. Like he's probably not as bad as a coach as people have made it out to be, and he's not as amazing as a coach as people think he might be now. But it's just crazy the roller coaster of college football and the narratives and how fast things can change. As far as just the scene in Ann Arbor, unbelievable. Like, I'm not sure I realized what would happen if the game was at home and they pulled this off and it finally won. But I think the best way to describe it was Joel Klatt said, like, what you're seeing is just 10 years of pent up aggression and frustration. And like, I don't remember the Big House being stormed the field in 2011, really. That's the last time they did it, when they beat Ohio State, which is just tells you how much they care about it in the state, because Michigan was ranked at like 16th in that game and OSU was 6-5 and they still stormed the field. But it was just absolutely insane. And then you guys may not be able to catch this because you guys were obviously going to the Michigan State game, but they came back to the big new kickoff, which was right outside the Big House entrances, and people were just like not storming the set, but just like swarms of people running and just screaming and just mayhem. And you saw Juwan Howard down there on the field. Like, it was just absolutely bananas, the whole thing. I honestly didn't know if Jim was going to be able to get off the field at one point because he stayed on to do the interview, and people were just random fans just smacking his big coat on the back, like, let's go. And he's like awkwardly high-fiving people and just trying to get out with security guards. And like Hutchinson and McNamara didn't have any security. They were just in the mix with 100,000 people around them. But that was crazy. Then my last part really that I thought of, well, 2 points. I want to ask this. Do you guys think after what we saw on Saturday, because it was kind of the theme of the whole day, Georgia is full season long the way they've been playing football, and we see Oklahoma State finally exercise their demons against Oklahoma, and Michigan pulls out one in Ohio State. I'm not saying to trend going forward, but is there at least a little correction you felt in college football this year where the physicalness of a team and like the commitment to running and being a physical defensive team is making a revival as we've gotten into like the pass happy speed era of college football?
I wouldn't say like physically running the ball, but I would say people lost sight of how good or how impactful a really good defense has on the game. Like how 3 studs on a defense, like Oklahoma State, nobody really knows any like studs on the defense and hand up. I mean, it's a national game, but like a collective team overall defense, they've been phenomenal this year. Georgia's different because they have 5 stars at every single position. But like Michigan, the 2 best players when Michigan's defense was on the field and when Ohio State was on offense for Saturday was Hutchinson. And I mean, you could go back and forth between Ohio State offensive line, but I'm not going to butcher his name, Ojabo. They were the 2 best players on the field, and they had an impact on the game. And so I think people maybe are obsessed with points, and they love that. But when it all comes down, like defense, you have to have a solid defense to even get you into these games in the first place, and then try to win a championship either in your conference or nationally.
I mean, I think with anything so I don't know how many years of the, offensive brigade it's been in football and college and both pros. But as time goes on, everyone starts to learn and adjust to what's happening. So I just think it's just natural regression. The more we've seen the offenses, the more the defenses have begun to figure it out. So now we're seeing it go back to the middle, and then it'll swing the other way, and then it'll just keep swinging because that's just how, history repeats itself. So I just think defenses are adapting better to high-flying offense, and I don't think the rest of our lives everyone's just going to score 65 points and just going to keep going up. I don't think that's going to continue.
Right. No, 100%. Great point. And it hit me too. I was thinking about how Georgia this year almost feels like a Saban Alabama team from his early tenure when they just had a game manager, quote unquote, quarterback and just had absolute NFL dogs all around them and were just more physical than you. And now Alabama went to the more spread, like high flying offense, and they've seen a little bit of trouble this year. So it's just weird how like the pendulum swings in college football. And even more specific to the game between Michigan and Ohio State, shame on me for not knowing this, and it was so obvious all these years. I did not realize that Don Brown and Ryan Day worked together at Boston College. So it made so much sense why Ryan Day knew how to pick apart his defense every single time they played those years. And, I don't blame Ryan Day for saying that they would hang 100 on Michigan, because he probably would have if it was Don Brown's defense again. But that shows you, to your point, Alex, about how as more films out there, you get a new defensive coordinator and Mike McDonald who's like, okay, maybe we can attack this Ohio State offense a different way than Don Brown stubbornly did 95% of the time playing man, and things change. So it's just like simple as that. Plus you have to have the NFL talent up front to execute the game plan. But yeah, I guess it's a refreshing correction, I guess, in college football, an interesting storyline to monitor of how this like one game kind of highlights a bigger theme in the country. And then the last thing I want to say about the broadcast, because we were big broadcast guys, I didn't really love it. Fox was having replay problems for large chunks of this game. Like it started when Dom Edwards cut a wheel route on the sideline, and there's just no replay of it. And like it was a bang play. Obviously, I'm going to trust the refs got it right, but like as a fan, you still want to see the replay to know how close it was. And the more egregious one, there was one, a 4th and 4 that Ohio State had in the second half that was a crazy juggling to catch by Smith and Jigba. That was a catch that in the moment wasn't even sure if it was, but there was a replay that got leaked on Twitter of how absurd a catch it was. And they just never showed a replay during the game, and just left fans wondering like, why were Michigan players screaming that it was incomplete? It's like, I would have liked to see it so I could know that that was the right call. And then the other thing with our Joel Klatt was killing me, dude. It just sucks when an announcer is saying that you like, it's just saying things that you like vehemently disagree with. When Michigan got that stop on Ohio State when they were up 7-0, they hit one play and they were in like at the 15. He's like, yeah, I think they should go for the throat here, go for a shot towards the end zone. I'm like, why? Like you just carved Ohio State running the ball in the first drive of the game. And then wouldn't you know, Gaddis was thinking the same thing. It took a shot to the end zone. Cade stares down his route the same way against Penn State and throws it into triple coverage. I'm like, oh my God, like that is not what we need right now. But outside of that, Gus Johnson was sweet, but this Fox needs to figure it out for future games. Like there needs to be better replays, and it can't like be broken for the whole first half. Do you guys have any other thoughts?
I wasn't that locked into the broadcast aspect of it.
I was going crazy.
Couldn't really hear like the announcers, a lot of chatter, so I wasn't like locked into that portion of it. And then the replays, I did notice there was the one you're talking about, the bobble by Smith and Jigba. Evan was like adamant that it was incomplete. And then we just, where I said it, I thought he caught it. And then we didn't see a replay and they snapped the ball. And I was like, oh, we're moving on.
Yeah.
So that was questionable that we didn't even see that. But I mean, I don't know. Broadcast is broadcast. It's never going to be perfect. There's a lot of problems in broadcasting.
You let them off easy there. You got to have replays.
Yeah, you let them off easy. And as a fan that's not in the stadium, that is watching the game, the broadcast is half of the game experience. Like if they botch it up, it's ruining your game experience. It's ruining the watching experience. I understand it why. And with us, like the way we were watching it, we're not really paying attention to all the replays because we're surrounded by 12 other people. But then like once you get on Twitter in between commercial breaks and you're reading all the Michigan fans or all the social media buzz about how there's terrible replays, then you kind of notice it even more, which isn't helping. But I'm sure Gus Johnson did a phenomenal job.
He had a sweet pronunciation of Ajabo's name on the last sack. I love that. He was like, oh, Jabo!
Evan, can you confirm you were doing OHIO chants in your apartment?
100%. I can't confirm. I did put on my Ohio State beanie.
You have one?
Wyatt does.
Wyatt has one. I grew up a Michigan State fan. I despise 99.8% of everything that has to do with Michigan. So I will never ever cheer for them in any sport. So I was cheering for Ohio State.
People were saying you root harder for Ohio State against Michigan than maybe you sometimes do for Michigan State. Any comeback?
No. People were saying while we were watching this game that I was going to cheer harder for Ohio State during this game than I was cheering for Michigan State during the Penn State game. The first 3 quarters, I would say it's close. For fourth quarter, I kind of gave in that Michigan was going to win. So
yeah, but I can see what Evan's saying. Like sometimes it's fun to pretend to be a fan. Like you could argue that.
I don't think Evan was pretending.
You could argue that when I went to the Miami game with you guys, I cheered harder for Michigan State than I have in several Michigan games this year. But I was kind of just like acting into a bit and got lost in the moment. And also drink a lot of beer going into the stadium. So like sometimes it's fun just to like, because then you just don't take it as hard when the game's over. It's like, okay, I cheered, but now I don't have the crushing pain of loss because it's not really my team.
Only difference is Evan did have that crushing pain.
No, well, then
I didn't have the crushing pain that Ohio State lost. It was more crushing pain that I couldn't believe that Michigan's finally in the Big Ten championship game, that they're finally going to the playoff, that Harbaugh finally got a win. I was just shocked that it happened this year. I'll just say that. And then, of course, where we live geographically, all of our friends, it's just been a utter just display of vomit on my social media, that everything that I'm reading and watching.
Weird, like no one knew how Michigan fans would react, and we don't know how to handle a win like this, and it shows. Like I don't know what people thought was going to happen. No one knew. No one knows what to do. No one knows how to handle it. It's just like
no, they do not.
It's going to 365 days until they play again. But
great for our Twitter account. So
my God. Grant, I didn't like the all blue look.
Oh,
I'm in love with them now just because
I just did not like the all blue look. Like in a traditional, like big rivalry game, I'm the guy that loves the tradition uniforms. And I think like watching the Michigan Ohio State game, like their traditional uniforms, home and away, when they face each other, it's just like pleasing to watch.
I'm surprised.
And, like when they came out in all blue, it was eh. I don't know the pants, but
most of the time Ohio State never wears traditional white.
I understand that. Correct. I understand that, but like Michigan's more known for just wearing traditional uniforms and never changing. Ohio State's kind of flirted with their ugly uniforms in the past. Some decent ones.
Those like poopy helmets they wear, or
the cannonball ones.
Yeah, the cannon. That's a great way to describe them. They were just cannonballs.
That's what they called them, was the cannonball helmets, because they had the cannonball paint finish on them.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of it.
Oh, three. Okay, so that just thought three quick things. We were a big like media podcast where we just consume all the media, and you better believe I've seen everything that's basically come out of this game. The best parts of it, in my opinion, were one, the clip, not the one that got leaked on it was the broadcast clip, or the one from the Josh Pate guy of the locker room scuffle at halftime. There's one that Kirk Herbstreit put out that someone must have sent to him from the Ohio State guy, and it's like it's a face, you're like facing the Ohio State players coming up the tunnel towards you, and then it's like those stragglers, and then you have the whole Michigan team behind them just screaming, like barking, like not dogs, but like a pack of just dogs, like yelling at them, flipping them off. And like in that moment, you can kind of see the Ohio State players like, what the heck's going on? Like acting like, not like they were scared, but like the body language looks like they're like, what's going on behind us? And I was just like, oh my God, this is a different Michigan team than I've seen in this game forever. And then I did personally love that Ojabo mimicked and did the LeBron James celebration on his last sack. That was sweet. That was just like, yeah, let's bring LeBron into this and just make fun of the state of Ohio. Even do it on them when you get the last sack of the game. And then the last thing is it is a little crazy to do because you're 1-5 against Ohio State, but technically only 1-1 against Ryan Day. Jim made it through a whole 99% of a press conference without saying anything stupid about the rivalry or like anything. And Wojnarowski asked him a question.
Oh my God, fire Wojo into the sun. He's so bad.
Wojo asked the classic, like, did any of the talk of Columbus rile you guys up, because you didn't play last year? And Jim was very politically correct and was like, yeah, we heard it and it does fuel you. I'm sure we're all thinking of the same thing. And then he drops an absolute classic Jim Harbaugh, like you don't really know what he means when he says it. One of those weird analogies, like the olive jar thing you talked about once, Evan. He goes, some people in his life think that we're born on third base and think they hit a triple. And I'm like, what does that even mean? And
it made a lot of sense.
Super clear that he's just saying Ryan Day, which is like gifted a program from Urban Meyer and hasn't had to work nearly as hard as like other coaches in college football. And now you better believe that it's on. The rivalry's back on. I know it's still skewed numbers in the last decade, but it just feels like with that chirp and everything that the bad blood is even better. And I don't know how Ohio State fans are reacting to it. I know how why it is, but I don't know how their whole fan base as a whole is because I don't follow them on our social medias, and I almost don't really care how they're handling it. And I hope they're squirming and don't know what to do with themselves.
Yep. I mean, Ryan Day's lost one Big Ten game. So, Jim, I mean, he's doing a decent job. But we'll see if it becomes a closer rivalry where everyone enjoys it at the end of the year. So this is one
was actually showing emotion on the sideline this game.
He did.
Dude,
he showed more emotion in this game than he did in the first 11 games combined.
Michigan finally.
I understand why. I mean, I understand why, but like you kind of want more out of him during the outer games. But hey.
Yeah. He's back. Old Jim's back. I don't know if I love it or hate it. I love the wins, but it does make me go when he does stuff on social media sometimes. But he pretty much deleted his Twitter account, so that's good. Michigan, now we'll just end it here. I thought it was better to do since we basically just have Michigan State to talk about today because I don't see any pro stuff. It's great. We'll just tie it together front half and back half. We'll go Michigan versus Iowa preview now. First of all, I'd love to give your guys' advice. Is there anything I should know going into the Big Ten Championship week? It's super new for me. Any tips, any pointers? I wasn't going to Indy like you guys did, but any mentality that you have to take into this game?
Just embrace all of it, enjoy every second of the week leading up. You're going to get super, super nervous on Saturday. It's going to be like in your stomach, pit nervous, like way worse than anything you've ever imagined. And I mean, I just remember I was locked into like every press conference, every quote, every like scouting report, practice, anything I could get my hands on, just all over it, just fully embracing it. And then when you get there, if you actually were going, it was different for Evan and I because when we went, it was against Iowa and it was Iowa's first time being there. And it was like 80% Iowa.
Oh my God.
So went to game day that morning in Indy, all Iowa fans, and we're just like, holy, this is a road game in the Big Ten Championship. And when you're losing in the game at some point, if you ever are, it's like fully like depression watch if you don't get back into it. This is the worst part is every play feels like, it really matters. Like we don't get a first down here on first down, over, game over. It's just everything feels big.
Oh yeah, I mean, you basically just don't turn off Big Ten Network for a whole week. Your nerves are like you'll be as nervous and like excitement, whatever one you combine, probably more nerves, as you are for like the Michigan State game and for like the Michigan Ohio State. Probably not as nervous for the Ohio State game, but like then it's a Big Ten championship game, and then you'll realize like, oh crap, we have a chance to go to the playoff if we win this. We have a chance to win the Big Ten for the first time since 2004 or whatever, 2003 for you guys. And then, like Alex said, it is literally like a college basketball or a playoff baseball game where it seems like every single play matters. And then for like us, the 2015 game, when they had like an 80-yard touchdown, you kind of just sit down in your seat and you're like, we lost. Every negative thing that goes wrong, like I'm a terrible fan probably to watch some games with, but it's just like, it's over. We lost. You might say that at least a couple of times if you're trailing.
Yeah. And then you just got to hope for an 8-minute drive to win the game.
But however, I just like this. Iowa has the worst, like overall, like efficient offense in the Big Ten. I don't know if you want to get into the preview already.
Oh, get into it. It's a great transition.
I was in the hundreds in offensive efficiency.
Yes, it is David versus Goliath when I was out there on offense. They rolled out their backup QB to start against Nebraska.
Yeah, what is it?
He just did finish.
Padilli? Something like that?
He just finished. This kid looked like 150 pounds wet. And I was like, this kid is going to try to beat Nebraska. And then obviously their starter features came in the second half.
So I'll get into your, I just was looking up, stats are so weird. You try to find things that actually could be tangible. I feel like credit to us, we've done a pretty good job of trying to parse through like what are BS stats and what are real and what games you should look at. I looked at Iowa's last 7 games, which goes back basically to all of October and all of November, because I don't need their 51-point bomb against Maryland. There was like a bunch of pick sixes. Like that doesn't count. They've had 20 points per game in their last 7. And against Purdue and Wisconsin, who have good defenses, but you say Michigan's is just as good, if not better, they scored 7 points against both those teams. Now, I don't know where the games were. I don't know if they were both on the road or what.
Yes, they were.
So they're not scoring a lot, but also their defense is really good. 21 points given up per game in their last 7, which is solid for college football. They're about like 17 on the year. So, and what scares me a little bit, if we're going to talk into like matchups to watch, is in those last 7, they have not given up an average of 4 yards per carry to any team. Everything's been under 4 yards a carry. So like the highest was 3.8. They gave up 189 rushing yards to Minnesota and 166 to Wisconsin. So there is something to be said here where I can definitely see this game looking uglier and being closer and being sweatier for Michigan than you would think on paper, because right now Vegas has it as it's up to minus 11.5 for Michigan, and the over-under is 43.5. That's not a lot of margin for error. That's like saying Iowa's going to score no points. And if there's any college football plays in this game where they have an 80-yard bomb, then it's like scary season, because like I don't think you're going to be able to run the ball against Iowa like they did against Ohio State. I don't think that's replicable. But I don't know. How do you guys think? You guys probably are going to be more rational and be like, Grant, I don't see how Iowa wins this game.
Well, I think Evan's going to be that guy. So I'll be Iowa opportunistic guy. So Evan, you give us why Michigan's going to destroy it.
Sounds good.
And get after it. You can go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
So offensive efficiency first. They skill position wise, they're not deep at the wide receiver position. They have a bunch of guys that can do the spot, but they don't have a stud. I feel like your athletes defensively and offensively are better than their athletes when they're back half of their secondary. Their front seven's going to be solid, but not traditional Iowa front 7 based off the stats you just read. So I feel like that's a weakness for them, and their mindset's got to be that they have to stop the run first no matter what. Like it's got to be run first. Obviously, what we watched, and let Cade McNamara throw for 353 like against Michigan State. Because if they don't stop the run, it's going to be hard for them to generate offense. I just like if they're not generating like any solid like run game for them, I just don't see how their athletes and like their quarterback play has been down this year is going to be able to suffice like a long drive here and there. If they're not winning field position, playing just like early 2000s football, they're not winning field position, and they're not like staying ahead of the change, I don't see how Iowa can win.
And I don't really
based off of the way that Michigan's playing right now.
Yeah, and I don't see like Michigan's secondary, for all intents and purposes, played pretty well against Ohio State. Like they just lost some one-on-one battles, but everyone's going to do that against those three receivers. And I don't know ignorantly how good Iowa's receivers are, but I just feel like we're not going to see any like 70-yard bombs mistakes against Michigan. And they're going to, like they did against Ohio State, they're going to limit the big plays, and you're going to have to move down the field, like I've been saying, unless they're just bullying up front, which doesn't seem likely. It's going to be tough. But they could, though, because like I said, Ohio State should have ran the ball more. And Iowa has Tyler Goodson, who's a very good running back. So they have a guy to do it. It's just, will they be able to do it?
Iowa won games early in the season, got ranked as high as 2 based on forcing turnovers. They forced 1 million turnovers.
Crazy how long the season college football is, that Iowa and Penn State was a 2 versus 3 matchup like 2 months ago.
Yeah, Iowa forced 1 million turnovers in the beginning of the year. Their secondary was like one of the highest rated.
Mm-hmm.
All their secondary players were phenomenal. And then they played Purdue and David Bell, and David Bell had like 250 yards receiving. And Purdue kind of made the blueprint of how to beat their secondary. Front seven's not as good as it has been in the past, still good. I'd say their defense is still good. I just don't know how they're going to stop Michigan's run game. Offensively, like Evan said, they are just to not be nice about it. They're just bad on offense. They're not going to be able to throw the ball at all, I don't think. The only hope Iowa has, I'd say, is that Michigan, riding the high of the Ohio State win. Again, it's not a letdown spot because it's the Big Ten championship game. You're not just going to stroll in and forget that you're playing for a lot, like more than you ever played for.
I think it's a letdown first half spot, though.
Potentially, you could start slow, but Iowa's offense is not good enough to really jump on you. Maybe at best they'll be up 7-3.
I wonder how their special teams is, because I feel like Iowa always has solid special teams.
Dude, there's just no way that.
The problem is they're not better at anything.
I mean, I'm going to seem probably ignorant, and this will be clipped for eternity, but I'm also looking at Iowa's schedule, and this is no disrespect to Minnesota, because they did win that game, but it was at home, so it's one of those games you probably think as Iowa you should win. They don't really have like a good, impressive win on their schedule. They beat Penn State, but Penn State lost their quarterback. They were getting blitzed. Iowa would have gotten blown out in that game. They did beat Minnesota at home, like I said, and they went to Nebraska and won, but Nebraska can't win football games that are close. So that's kind of like you were going to win. And they beat Iowa State, who stinks this year, and Indiana, who stinks this year. So it's like they haven't beaten anyone good.
Like the only like counterpart react to like the 2 points that Iowa has a chance. One, their coaching staff, this program has been there before. They're not going to be shell-shocked by anything. Their coaching staff has been there before. 2, I don't feel like they're going to beat themselves at times, where they can play conservative. But however, on the other hand, well, one more point. Like this is like Iowa's like Super Bowl basically, because they know they're not making a playoff.
They don't have an NFL team in Iowa either.
Correct. Like this team, this is like their matchup where they win this. Obviously, their season's made, but like this is it. Obviously, the bowl game's cool. Like they could argue that they could go to the Rose Bowl over Ohio State, but it's unlikely. But then you go like counter it. I feel like now it's going to be like 70% Michigan fans in the stands
because it's the first time.
And is Kirk Ferentz where like, yeah, he's like teams like fundamentally sound, but is he going to pull a bunch of fakes? Is he going to do anything sexy? And it's just no.
Yeah.
The way to convince yourself, I mean, we did do our diligence of X's and O's, but the real, like, dumb but logical thing to say if Iowa can win is just like, this is just stuff Iowa does. They ruin people's seasons. They've had Michigan's number for years. And, like, that's the only thing I can think of when I just see Iowa. I get a little nervous just because they always just muck up games. And, like, they're probably not going to beat themselves, like you said.
I mean, I know when Michigan State played them in the Big Ten championship game, they were 12-0, but still no one thought on planet that Iowa was going to win. Like everyone thought Michigan State was going to win, and they were like a half a yard away from winning. And that they did have some NFL talent, not a ton, but still they mucked the living crap out of that game. It was like 17 to something, 17-13 or something. I don't know.
16-13, I think. And like plus, like I'm not hating on Michigan, whatever. You play whoever's on your schedule, and you play whoever won the West, and the West was a little down this year. Wisconsin blew it on Saturday to roll the boat. But like according to like AP poll, this is the third worst team to play in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah.
According to rankings, there was a Northwestern team ranked, I don't know, 3 years ago, not the most recent one, but the other one was ranked like 21st, 22. And then Wisconsin was unranked. Then Wisconsin was unranked 1 year because Ohio State was banned from the postseason. And they were unranked, but they won the game against Nebraska like 70-30 because they didn't know how to defend a jet sweep. So if you're looking at on paper, this is one of the worst teams to make it to the championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think Iowa's best chance, just muck it up, run the ball a million times. Basically, Michigan's blueprint last week against Ohio State. Problem is, Iowa's not there. So
I would say, too, it makes me feel a little bit better now that I'm looking, because I always think about them being mistake-free. They have had a turnover in 6 of their last 7 games. I think it's Purdue and Wisconsin. They had 4 turnovers and 3 turnovers. So there is a chance when they face the 2 toughest teams they had to face, they pooped their pants at some level, and they had a bunch of turnovers. And actually, 4 of them were picks against Purdue. And then they had 3 fumbles versus Wisconsin. So this is good. I also heard a bunch of people saying that they give up a lot of sacks. I don't know exactly how to find that super well because college stats are harder. But if it's true they give up a lot of sacks, then they're dead. Like, that's not going to work because you're going to have great protection because you have to throw the ball at some point, I would think. I mean, geez. But
with the sack, just one thing to help Iowa, like if they are getting in trouble with sacks, they're not afraid to just use like 4 tight ends if they have to.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, oh, we can't get any exception with wide receivers. And everybody points to like, oh, there's no wide receivers out there. It's like, well, they decided just to use 4 tight ends instead. And Michigan's defenders will probably be either draped all over them or we get boxed out. Like where Ohio State were struggles, if they're struggling with their tackles, then they're like, okay, we just got to get the ball out quicker. But that's easier to defend because they won't put tight ends in, where Iowa might do that.
And it kind of goes to the narrative we talked about, how it was a benefit for Coach Harbaugh that he's stubborn and will always run against Ohio State. We kind of saw in the Ohio State-Michigan, I felt like when I talk about Ryan Day abandoning the run, that he got a little impatient and wanted these chunk plays. Kirk Ferentz does not need chunk plays. Like 3 yards to carry is like sex for him. He's like, yeah, give me that 3. Give me 3.2 yards per carry, and I'll just do 4th and 1s on your butt all the way down the field.
Let me get to midfield, and then I will punt and be happy with the production. And they'll be like, oh, we flip field position. That's all that matters. We won that drive.
Yeah. I will say, though, I think it's much better. Shout out Evan, row the boat. Shout out Minnesota, because I was so convinced it's like Wisconsin round 2. I don't feel great about it because they've been peaking. Now, I felt a little bit better when I just saw how the Wisconsin-Minnesota game went because Wisconsin was playing so bad. I'm like, okay, are they really that good now after they found something or what? But it's always nice to play a new team and not the same team twice because obviously we know it's a little bit harder. This will lead us right into our predictions and must-win meter. Is it just too easy to say that this game will probably go the way that the Michigan versus Wisconsin game went? Because they're kind of similar teams, Wisconsin and Iowa. Like close at half, and then it just kind of in the second half they separate because like the talent gap just gets a little too wide.
I would 100% agree.
I lean the other direction. This is a Big Ten championship game. I think you can throw all that crap out. It could be close. It could be.
I 100% agree. This could be a sweat fest. This could be a 3-point.
I feel like it might.
All right, lead us off.
Sweat fest, and then the ball's gonna get kicked off, and then it'll be over.
Prediction and must-win meter.
It is the Big Ten championship game. I don't know if you can determine it a must-win, but it's a must-win. You want to win it.
It's a must-win. I'll stop you right there.
It's a lot to win it.
No, it's a must.
Like, are you going to be super depressed if you lose?
Yep.
Yes. Your entire season is ruined if you lose this game.
I guess the real question is,
what if
with the must-win meter, we're saying must-win or like someone's like in trouble. So if Jim doesn't win this,
like my mental health
back out. Is everyone right back out and they lose?
No, absolutely not. But the program needs to win this game.
Some scummy Michigan fans will be right out if they do lose. They won't, but if they do lose, some scummy Michigan fans will.
Like, you guys would be fully in your rights to be like making jokes that Michigan's a joke. We knew they would choke if they lose this game because it's embarrassing. If you
Hand up, you will hear it from me first if you do blow this game.
Super embarrassing now, but I will have no defense for this team pissed off after all the crap they talked and like that they're different after being Ohio State. Like, one step is, but again, that's why the win on Saturday was so massive, because it's not, Michigan didn't beat Ohio State in a year where Michigan was already eliminated. Like, it was for everything. It was to go. Now you have to keep going. And we don't know how they're going to do because it's never done it before.
Do you want to hear an alarming stat?
Sure.
Only one team won the Big Ten championship game in their first appearance. And it was Wisconsin because it was the first one.
Wow.
No, I'll take that back. That's a lie.
Ohio State's first appearance, lost.
Penn State's first appearance won. Only appearance is a win.
Sorry, Penn State.
Alex, get dunked on.
Other than that,
Go, Grant.
Other than that, though, everyone else. So basically just one team, because the first game doesn't count. And that was a 3-point game. So, it's a little alarming. Must win. And score. Not high scoring. I'll probably take the under. 27 for Michigan. 13 for Iowa. So Michigan.
Was it? Sorry.
27-13.
Got it. That's not sweat fest.
I think it'll be like reasonably close. It'd probably be like 13-10 Iowa half. Then they won't score.
Got it.
Must win. Not going to be close. I got Michigan 38, Iowa. Let's see. They go for 2, but they don't get it. 15.
Evan almost just did the Wisconsin game. Close. It was 38-17 against Wisconsin. Must win. I'm going to say, well, it's going to be 13-7 Michigan at the half.
Pretty close to what I said.
I think it's going to be super close to the half. Michigan hasn't separated from any team really in the first half ever this whole season. And then it's going to be, well, funny enough, I just thought about I think the biggest lead they've had at half is probably Michigan State. Just insane that they found a way to lose that game. The credit to Michigan State because Kenneth Walker's a dog. The final score will be, I just want to get this right. I want to be close on this. This is the biggest game of my life. 30.
So far.
Far.
You're going to have a semifinal game to predict.
30-30, not 32. 32, 17. 17 might be too high, honestly, with them because they scored 7 against the other two, but
13, 15, 17.
They'll be up.
Is that what we all said?
30-17 is what my prediction is.
You gave Iowa the most points.
Yeah, it feels dumb looking back at it. But
Now
to Snowball. The snow really picked up in Michigan for your guys' game. My goodness.
Dumping.
I feel a little guilty. I guess I shouldn't because most people like
Grant didn't watch it.
Grant, you should enjoy the massive win. I saw a couple of highlight plays. I saw 2 one-handed grabs by each team. Montori Foster and Parker Washington. But this is a true lean on you guys to walk me through this game and the game that gets Mel Tucker to 10 wins. His first full season as a coach at Michigan State.
Gritty win. Some guy leaked definitely from Vegas that everyone was sick and that we'd have like 50 players out. It was a lie because it just wasn't true because everyone played that we thought wouldn't play. Kenneth played, Reed played, Thorne played. So the whole team was healthy. So I don't know why that got leaked. I don't know where that information came from. So going into the game, I thought we were super screwed. Started fast, hand up, got to the game late, didn't see the first 2 drives until I rewatched it. But really good first 2 drives. Peyton Thorne had a fantastic game in the snow, minus his one really horrendous, awful, terrible throw, worst throw of the season by far. His pick 6, if you hadn't seen it.
That was actually Rocky Lombardi under center.
It was really bad. One of the worst throws.
They gave Rocky a snap because they wanted to reward him for the MAC.
It
MAC
was
appearance.
bad. But so offensively, they ran the ball pretty well. Evan might gripe a bit about the play calling. I'm sure he will get into that.
Always do.
Connor Hayward, just rumbling, stumbling, big man making plays per usual. He has fantastic hands, super underrated. catches everything. Even in the snow, he was just making great grabs.
It's not underrated. Everyone knows that Big Skill Boy has fucking sweet.
Big Skill Boy is an asset. He'll be an asset to an NFL team. I cannot believe that that's to the point where
like Patrick Ricard level for the Ravens or
Juszczyk. That's a Juszczyk too far. Juszczyk's pretty good. But the Ravens.
Will Connor Hayward be fantasy startable?
No.
Okay.
But
like a waiver.
I think he'll like play.
A desperation.
He's better than Jason Kabinda.
Okay. Wow. Jason Kabinda might come and find you.
He's not too far. So offensively, I thought it was overall pretty solid throughout the day, especially with the weather. Kenneth, I could tell he was probably not 100%. He got chased down a couple times. Could be because of the snow. Could be because of the ankle. Whatever. Still ran for 138 yards. The only bad things, partly because of the snow, kicking was horrendous in this game for all teams. I mean, so it got to the point where we just got to fourth down. We're just like, yep, let's just go for it. So we went for it on fourth down a bunch of times.
Funny thing from the broadcast this is like the one thing that stuck in my head because I was focusing on the recap of the Michigan game, but you could hear the announcer go, so Peyton Thorne came to the sideline because they had the sideline reporter down there, and he didn't know who kicked that ball for Michigan State on one of the missed
3 kickers.
The missed extra point. Peyton Thorne didn't know who that was.
2 according to the box score. According to the box score, it's only been 2. It was only 2.
All right. Well, the other guy with the club, he kicked off once, tried to make a tackle. I was watching this last night, and he just got absolutely ran over by Penn State's return man. It was one of the worst tackle attempts. He just kind of ran straight up with his chest and just didn't wrap and just ran into him. It was awful.
But that does illuminate the kicking scenario for Michigan State. That it was just so funny to think that the starting quarterback, which you know what,
didn't even know.
He doesn't need to know really. He's like, who is that? And then they were telling this kid's from college and got the call up to Michigan State as like a walk on. It's like what?
Well, Coughlin's first kick was like a half an inch above the crossbar. It barely went in, and then he was complaining that he was hurt, and then we didn't see him again. And then we just went for it. But defensively, played pretty not great again. I mean, bend don't break, I guess. But the middle was wide open, and Dotson had quite a big game. Both their receivers did. Parker, I think is his name.
Parker Washington.
Yeah. So the secondary wasn't great. However, they got off the field, and Penn State couldn't kick. James Franklin iced his own kicker because he's a bad coach. He didn't get fired. So that's disappointing because
he got the opposite of fired.
But ultimately,
completely opposite of fired.
Won the football game at 10-2, and might not mean a lot to all the Michigan fans listening. They probably think it doesn't matter, but for this program, that was a giant win, a huge win for recruiting and going forward.
I said it was a giant win right in my face because I was predicting Penn State to win forever.
Yep, you doubted this team.
But does Evan have any nice things to say about Sean Clifford? Because I'm looking at the box score and it looks like he played pretty well.
Yeah. Well, I was still right that you should never trust a Sean Clifford and James Franklin led team. Thank God we held on. Bend don't break. Cal Holiday played really well. Darius Snow played well again. Beasley played well. Defensive line. Offensively, like Alex already basically highlighted the entire game with the play calling and the kicking situation. Like when you're going for it on fourth down, I don't understand why you're not trying to get yourself in better situations on second and third down, especially third down and long. And then we're still trying to throw the ball beyond the chains. It's like, you're going for it on fourth down, get it to fourth and manage to set something up. There's too many times where we're trying to throw the ball when it's 3rd and 13. And it's like, hey, you're going for it on fourth down because you're already past midfield. You're not punting. You're not going to kick a field goal. Like help yourself in the future, the next play, by just setting something up nice. I wish we ran the ball more because, we finished with 47 rushes and 183 rushing yards. And that's with Reed having -8 on one play, one of the worst play calls all year. Try to run an end around in the snow. Yeah, that's brilliant. So, there's a couple play calls here there when I'm nitpicking, but Reed did play really well. Connor Hayward surprisingly played well.
Surprising, Evan. He's good.
Dude, Reed's just a dude.
Yeah, Reed's sweet.
He can win. I know Kenneth's the obvious pick, but he would be the guy that I'd want on Michigan the most if I had to pluck a player.
That makes sense.
He's like the Sean D. Brown Alex Gillen award. Jaden Reed. That's my Sean D. Brown.
I mean,
player.
He's just
Penn
simple.
State's just
knows he's better. He just makes it play.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you don't have to poop on Penn State.
They are. James Franklin saying, "Please stop throwing snowballs at me."
that was so soft. That was so funny.
Oh my god! And then his press conference afterwards. I mean, shout out Michigan State Athletics for just throwing them in the concourse where like fans are like eligible to like walk by and just heckle them. Hilarious
in the concourse.
First time I've ever seen like an away coach do it in the concourse, actually. And then just, I mean, being in the stadium and being in the student section, as soon as there's snow on the ground, I mean, you just know snowballs are just going to fly from everywhere, and they were.
Can confirm got hit in the chest.
It can't confirm got hit in the back. But it was also funny being in the student section and like the COVID new protocols. So like, hopefully, well, screw it, they're not listening. Getting into the game, they don't really check. They said, okay, unzip. We unzipped our coats and then just do a spin while somebody's watching. No pat down, no nothing. But throughout like the entire first quarter, you could just see every single student just throwing their empty like fireball shooter in the air.
Fireball shooters were flying.
I mean, you just picture fireball shooters and snowballs just raining down. It was awesome.
It never stopped. Oh, best part too, I saw a bunch of dudes just take their shirts off to take an Instagram picture, immediately put their shirts.
They were frauds. Find them and call them frauds.
Yeah, we need to find these people.
Super loser level stuff.
If you did that, you should be ashamed.
And one Penn State fan chirped me after the game.
Oh my god!
And I don't know
what could they have said.
He said that you don't know your own fight song.
Oh yeah, he tried to tell me I didn't know the fight song. I asked him how his 5 losses were.
Nice.
And then he said,
roasted.
He said, "Your coach is going to LSU." Man, buddy, that was like 2 weeks ago. We've already resolved that. And then he's like, "Yeah, I hate my coach," and he just went full on about how much he hates James Franklin.
You broke him down. You actually flipped it on him.
I don't need to talk.
That guy was just sad at life. But speaking of the coaching, how great does it feel now with all the stuff popping off that you guys locked up Mel Tucker before things got crazy in college football?
Feels great.
Lincoln Riley leaving, just like the fact that Oklahoma was there now, that would have scared me more than LSU.
Well, Grant thinks Mel's going to Oklahoma. He told me last night.
I was joking, but
He's getting $100,000 to have whatever drip he wants, dude. He ain't leaving.
$100,000 from Nike.
Was that in the contract?
Yeah, the contract details did come out around 4 p.m. today.
Wow,
buyouts like
that's a great question for the summertime. What would you guys buy if you had $100,000 worth of Nike?
They are paying that just for fun.
It's not just Nike. It's like his fashion. It's like shoes and whatever. His wardrobe.
The GQ model.
He wore, what is it? What's the Louis Vuitton?
That sounds right.
Isn't that like a really big, like expensive, like name brand? He wore that scarf while he did the Spartan walk to the stadium.
It sounds like a football guy, though. I like Mel Tucker, but this sounds very unfootball guy.
He's doing all of this on purpose because of recruits.
I mean, he looks.
Yes, they do. They do like that stuff. The young kids.
My last point on the game: walking to the stadium. It was enjoyable, and then like some people were still like tailgating, like bracing the elements. Good for them. I heard Sean McDonough was on the call, and I instantly just wanted to turn around and go back just so I could listen to Sean McDonough call our game. His hands up, probably he's got to be like, if he's not the top, he's number 2 of the most enjoyable voice to watch call a game.
It's probably like in college football right now. I'm not doing all time. I'm doing right now. It's him. I like Gus, and I still like the CBS guys because I just love. Their voices are synonymous with
Red Nestor's really good.
330. They're kind of funny too. They kind of say funny stuff. They like jab and whatnot. So I just like that. Oh, Todd Blackledge's hat, dude. Have you guys got to see what he was wearing?
I did not. I've not seen one picture of what he was wearing.
That was so goofy, dude.
It's probably
like
YouTube. It's got a cold head.
He looked like a like a park ranger. It wasn't like a beanie. It was like a top hat. It thought it was like the Kentucky Derby. That was funny. I'll try to find you a picture later. It's made me think about the broadcast. But now the fun part is bowl season because, like Evan said, you got to get off the mat against Ohio State. You got to beat Penn State because the New Year's Six Bowl is on the line. Now, I don't know if it's like, is it a foregone conclusion they're in a New Year's Six, or do things still need to play out, really? Do you guys need any help to get a New Year's Six, or are you in a New Year's Six?
As it stands, we would be in a New Year's Six. Things that could make us not be in a New Year's Six. One, Michigan losing to Iowa. That would bump all the Big Ten teams down a spot because they wouldn't be in the playoff. So that would probably put us in the Citrus Bowl. But I would also say the Citrus Bowl is about as low as we can go, and it's really only if Michigan. If not, it sounds like it's going to be Peach against the ACC winner or Fiesta against Notre Dame, assuming Notre Dame's not in the playoff. So I guess if everyone wants the dream Michigan State Notre Dame matchup, you have to root for Michigan and Oklahoma State.
I would love Notre Dame, Michigan State. That'd be sweet.
Chance to get the final rivalry trophy all in the same season.
Yeah. As a Midwest football fan, that is just like matchup, uniform, coach.
All the projections are basically Michigan State.
It says Fiesta. I'm reading 24.
It's in the Fiesta because everything that I'm reading too, like Alex brought it up to my attention that most of these bowls have already like reached out and they already know who they want in the bowl games. And like obviously you have the conference tie-ins. Rose Bowl's guaranteed to pick probably Ohio State and the winner of the Pac-12 championship. The Sugar Bowl's most likely picking Alabama if they lose. If Alabama wins, then they'll probably pick Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That
would actually open up another at large, I believe.
I feel like it would just be like the Peach Bowl would be if they'd probably pick. I don't even know who's the third best team in it. Who's the fourth best team in the SEC?
A&M, even though they just lost. Kentucky.
Yeah, A&M.
Kentucky.
Four SEC teams are not playing in the New Year's Six.
Oh yeah, that would actually help. Okay, so it's everything I'm reading though is like the Peach Bowl wants Ole Miss because of geographic and like obviously money general. And then the ACC seems like they're guaranteed, whoever the winner of the ACC is guaranteed to play in the Peach Bowl.
That is a guarantee.
And so it's just like shunning everybody like, okay, Midwest teams now have fun out in Arizona. Well, it's selfish for me. If we play in the Peach, I want to go to it. But if we're getting out in Arizona, not likely.
I got my peaches out in Georgia.
And I'll be playing that all the way down the 10-hour ride down there.
The only other thing that Michigan State could get bumped out for, which would be stunning, and I would be furious at the world, is if they want to take, or if the committee, I guess, moves BYU up ahead.
Yeah. Well, they're right there. They're 12.
But it's all about like the non-Power 5 gets only one New Year's Six, and Cincinnati's already up there no matter what.
Right, but if BYU were to be ranked in the top 12, they could technically be picked over us.
BYU should play Notre Dame this week and just settle it.
It's true.
Just settle it.
But BYU barely beat USC last week. USC State.
Well, no, they have Lincoln Riley now.
Facts.
They didn't.
I might turn into a USC fan.
Well, it's more a little crush on Lincoln Riley. What's more interesting, what I want to know is who do you want to see in the New Year's Six? Who would you hate to see in the New Year's Six?
I want to see Notre Dame for the passion.
You want that Brian Kelly?
I want USC, not USC. Sorry, Lincoln Riley crush. Notre Dame. I want to see Notre Dame.
I don't want Ole Miss. I don't want Matt Corral torching us.
Oh my gosh, no. Any spread offense,
guys.
Don't want to see Alabama. Don't want to see Ole Miss.
Baylor, a little Cotton Bowl rematch.
I'd be fine with Baylor.
I'd be fine with Baylor. They have a really good defense. Oklahoma State would be all right. Cincinnati would be all right.
I think the ACC teams would be cool because it'd be like 65-63. There's just no defense in those games. I think it'd be sweet. But then again, I'd rather not play Wake Forest again in a bowl game. It
would be like March Madness bracket, how they do the brackets nowadays for March Madness. They just basically pick like rematches for that, like half the teams. It would be so funny, like for Michigan State to go to the Peach Bowl, and like if Wake Forest won, we play Wake Forest because Kenneth Walker.
Oh damn! There's a good chance you guys could somehow play Alabama.
I don't know.
If Alabama loses, I see Alabama going to Sugar Bowl no matter what, and I don't.
He has a tie into the Sugar.
Oh,
So they are like almost guaranteed. And then Ole Miss is the at-large SEC team.
Sugar Bowl's not the playoff?
No, it's cotton and orange.
Oh, ew. Oh, yeah. I keep forgetting that Hard Rock Butthole Stadium gets the playoff game.
So, yeah, the tie-in, Alabama's almost guaranteed a Sugar Bowl at worst.
Got it.
There could be a lot of movement if Alabama wins.
There's a lot of movement if Alabama wins, if Oklahoma State loses,
if Michigan lost.
If Michigan lost. It's basically, if all the upsets happen, then it's just absolute chaotic.
Then we're probably in the citrus.
Well, that's Alex's Kentucky. That's Alex's 2-loss nightmare bucket, which would be the most.
I did create that scenario yesterday. If a bunch of teams lose, two-loss teams would be in the playoff. That just would have to be. It would have to be.
No.
Yes, Evan.
If all the upsets happen, you already know what it's going to be.
What is it then?
It's Alabama, Georgia, Cincinnati, and Notre Dame.
But I'm saying Cincinnati loses.
One loss, Cincinnati stays in.
Oh, you say Cincinnati loses too. I thought you were just talking about.
They're going to take 2-loss teams over Cincinnati.
Correct. But Notre Dame would be in. So there's only one spot, and it's who's the best 2-loss team.
You know who I would think?
I think if Michigan lost to Iowa, they wouldn't deserve it.
What if it's tight, though? It was real tight.
It's Iowa. They suck. They're bad. We just talked about how bad they are.
Yeah, but you couldn't put Oklahoma State in. Would Baylor jump because they won?
I would honestly say Baylor or Oregon, if they win their conference championships, has a chance in Michigan.
Baylor. Who's Baylor lose to? They lost to Oklahoma State, and they lost to. Who else did they lose to?
You know,
they beat Oklahoma.
TCU.
They lost to TCU. I mean, the biggest argument would be Baylor because you're like, oh, they avenged one of their losses.
I think it'd be Oregon.
Ew.
No, they had the two of the worst losses.
Well, they would avenge.
Well, who wins the Pac-12? So you're telling me Oregon wins the Pac-12, then they avenge one of their losses.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So if Oregon wins the Pac-12 and all those other teams lose, I think it'll come down to Baylor and Oregon because they're conference champions.
Oregon beat Ohio State, who beat.
But then again, Michigan and then Ohio State would be back in the mix because the committee lost.
No,
they would be.
They got
Michigan would stay above them just because Michigan beat Ohio State.
Blown out by Iowa.
Oh, geez.
That's never going to happen because I will be lucky to score 20 points.
20-0.
God, I hope pick sixes don't happen. Okay. Let's do before we wrap it up, let's just do our playoff rankings and get ahead of the committee because they'll probably.
Just our top 4?
No, just the top 10.
Full.
No, I have not done any research, but I'll go first. Unless you're ready, Evan.
I'm ready. I already got my top 10.
Do it.
Okay, 1, Georgia Bulldogs. 2, Michigan Wolverines. 3, Cincinnati Bearcats. 4, Oklahoma State.
Oh.
5, Alabama. 6, Notre Dame. 7, Ohio State. 8, Ole Miss. 9, Baylor. 10, MSU.
Wow, they're back. They're back in the top 10. I'll go. I'm ready.
Okay.
Number 1, Cincinnati. Just kidding. Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, Bama, Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Ohio State, Baylor, Michigan State.
Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Alabama 3, Cincinnati 4, Notre Dame 5, Oklahoma State 6, the other OSU 7, Ole Miss 8, Baylor 9. Don't shoot me.
The Oregon sucker.
Oklahoma 10.
Ew.
They stay at 10. They were 10 last week.
Yeah, and they guess if you lose, you move down. But honestly, they've lost to Baylor and Oklahoma State, and I know you don't get points for should have beating, but they controlled Bedlam for the whole game and then had terrible special teams.
You don't have a head coach anymore.
Barely beating Kansas.
You don't have a head coach anymore.
You get negative points for barely beating Kansas.
No.
But you get positive points for almost beating Oklahoma State, who you have Notre Dame ahead of.
Their 2 losses are better than any of the other 2 losses. Did I say that right? Their 2 losses are better. Like
We
not
get
as
it.
bad.
Michigan State wasn't going to beat Penn State, so you just still think they lost, but they won, Grant.
You lost to Purdue.
They won. They beat Penn State, despite
You're
all.
lucky Michigan didn't have to play Purdue.
4.5 point home underdogs. They won.
Wait.
What?
I think we have
Breaking
breaking.
news.
I think we have fucking breaking news in the world of college
Oh
football.
no, it hasn't hit my phone yet.
I think it has.
No,
to,
don't say it.
I think it has to do with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
LSU is expecting to hire Notre Dame's Brian Kelly as the school's next host.
Oh my God!
He's
breaking
leaving.
news.
Could come as early
Brian
as
Kelly's-
tomorrow.
Which means Luke Fickell to Notre Dame. Oh
So
my
now
God!
Notre Dame doesn't have a coach for our bowl game.
Oh my God!
So
Urban
we're going to beat Notre Dame by 100.
Urban Meyer to Notre Dame. It's finally happening.
No, it's Luke Fickell because Luke Fickell's DC is already at.
Mel Tucker to Notre Dame. I don't know what to say. How do you think?
Brian Kelly's leaving Notre Dame.
Give him a Harbaugh to Notre Dame, dude. That was the first
What a wild cycle.
That was one of the first massive breaking newses on the show.
Luke Fickell to Notre Dame. That's it. That's happening. That's a guarantee.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. He said there were 4 jobs he'd consider. 4. Ohio
Dude,
State.
I think
Notre Dame.
I wouldn't rule Urban out. I wouldn't rule
Urban's
out.
out.
I wouldn't rule out.
No.
Why?
No.
You don't want him back
Urban's
in college?
not going back to Notre Dame. He's not. I guarantee
What do
it.
you mean going back to?
Or going back to college. He's
Why?
I guarantee it.
Why? Because he's having so much fun in the
I
NFL?
think he is starting to.
Bro,
I think he hates recruiting.
he's long said Notre Dame's one of his white whales. That and USC. And Ohio
Luke
State.
Fickell is going to Notre Dame. I would bet hundreds of dollars.
Why would he though? Because he could go dominate the Big 12 for years. He actually should stay.
He said, dude, you know how easy it is to win at Notre Dame playing the bums they play every year? Come on.
The
Wow.
football team knew that this was about to happen.
Hey, props for you guys. Portal season for Tuck. Notre
Hey,
Dame.
our former recruit, Audric Esteem, tweeted out and said, now what?
See?
No,
That's
Evan.
true.
No.
That was
It
20
was.
hours ago. That was like
No,
20 hours ago. That was
They
yesterday.
found out about Brian Kelly 20 hours
No,
ago.
Evan. Estime was because they were like, now what do we get in the playoff? That's what that was about.
Because now they.
Why
don't
wouldn't
have-
he tweet that out on Saturday then?
Because it's like, now we'll see if we make it. Like,
Yeah,
now
Tweet
what
that
happens?
out, then tweet that out tomorrow.
No, because Brian Kelly had that quote about saying, like, I don't care what they do. I know we're one of the top 4 teams in the country. Like, I think all of his players were like, now what's going to happen?
And
Are they
Lincoln
gonna let
Riley
us-
wasn't
Brian
leaving.
Kelly leaves right before they have a chance to go to the playoff.
That's going to be awkward if they make the playoff.
We're not going to now. That's going to be a factor.
Who's going to coach in the game, bro?
Their
It
defensive
won't.
coordinator from Cincinnati.
Marcus Freeman.
It's up to the school if he gets to coach, though.
They are not going to want the guy to coach that is leaving that. That never happens.
Lou Holtz is coming out of retirement to coach him. Unbelievable.
Lee Corso.
Go Irish. Wow. Well, let that sink in, folks, as we wrap this puppy up. I would like to say everyone needs to really soak in conference championship week. I especially will be now that I'm actually involved in it. But even when Michigan wasn't making it for all those years, I love conference championship week. It's so great. The only down part is, like, since the games are so staggered, if a game does stink, it kind of is like a lull in the day. But hopefully we have wire-to-wire great conference championship games, except for the Big Ten. Hopefully that's a blowout, so I don't have to sweat. But,
Breaking news, it will be.
But let's all enjoy it. Let's soak it in. College football is fading fast. Really enjoy what's left of it. Our social accounts that are blowing up. The blue wall, as people call it, as Evan has said it in the past. The blue wall is out in numbers online. They're crawling out of the Walmarts. Even the alums are getting involved. Everyone's involved. That's at Shot of MS everywhere. I know some people don't know the platforms we have. We have Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook as well. The core 4, I would say. No Snapchats. How to listen: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Review that, like it, share the links, follow it, whatever you gotta do. Make sure they automatically download, subscribe, rate and review, like I said, on all platforms. And then any questions? We didn't have a ton. We did not answer Cody's question, but we can do that next week. It was a look ahead. I don't like looking past Iowa, so
You
I
have
want
to
Cody.
apologize to one of our fans.
Apologies, I guess, to Brad and Cody. They were the 2 Michigan fans that told me Michigan would win. Now, yes, am I sorry that I wasn't on board slap happy, but I hope that they can deep down believe why I was so pessimistic. I mean, you get beat down for that many years. you're going to be pessimistic. But yes, I'm sorry. I wish I did not flip-flop like a coward the week before because I knew it all year long that Ohio State could be got. And they got, and it feels fantastic. I'm going to be playing Pump It Up and Seven Nation Army. Not really Mr. Brightside. I don't love that song. I'll be playing the first two all week leading up to the game. And Alex will be singing. Alex is a big Pump It Up guy, believe it or not.
Unfortunately, it's just so catchy. It's just always in my head.
It's such a dumb song, but so good. With that being said, cheers to episode 48, almost to 50. Wow. And the side cheers is to Michigan finally getting it done.
Side cheers to longtime listener of the podcast and good friend Cody. Congrats, man.
Nice.
Oh yeah, congrats to Cody on your future.
Some things are better than sports.
Yes, that
Yes.
better than sports.
Cheers to that. Cheers to I thought of a cheers earlier today, but I just can't remember. So cheers.
The coaching carousel.
Yeah.
The portal. Portal.
And if you still have healthy running backs in fantasy football, cheers to you.
I know.